Blacks in Technology.
Blacks in Technology. Blacks in Technology. Blacks in Technology. Blacks in Technology. Blacks in Technology.
Welcome everyone to the Blacks In Technology BITTechTalk podcast, a show where we talk to black women and men who are engineers, innovators, educators, inventors, change makers, and entrepreneurs doing amazing things in the world of technology. This podcast is where they share their stories, experiences, ideas, knowledge, and perspective on tech with the BIT community. I'm your host, Gregg, the founder of Blacks In Technology. And it's been quite a while. We haven't done a podcast in, I would say, over 6 months, I believe. We had, in between that time, we had our conference, PopCom 2018, that was kicked off in St. Paul, Minneapolis area. The huge conference. It was amazing, an amazing event, amazing experience. It was our very first conference. And we're looking to do it again in the Twin Cities area for 2019. So be on the lookout for information regarding that. Just check our website, blacksintechnology.net. If this is your first time listening to this podcast, you can check us out on blacksintechnology.net, facebook.com/blacksintechnology, also LinkedIn, Blacks In Technology, Instagram, Blacks In Technology. But on Twitter, we are at Black In Technology, BLKINTECHNOLOGY. All right, so since this is our the first podcast of the new year, I'm happy to have on our show Dawn Dickson. And before I introduce her, I really want to set this up a little bit, give a little bit of context on how we met. It was actually when I was up in the Twin Cities area for BitCon, and she just happened to be at it was a Meta $1 Million Challenge. I think it was $1 Million Challenge is what they called it. It was a pitch competition, and I'm just in the venue because we were listed as a partner because we helped promote it during Startup Week there in the Twin Cities. And we just got to talking, and lo and behold, found out that she was from Columbus, Ohio, and that she was I'd actually heard of Dawn, but I'd never met her in person. And so we just had a really nice conversation, and we exchanged information. I said, hey, I want to get you on a podcast. And so here we are, the new year 2019. So if you all don't know who Dawn Dickson is, she is the CEO of PopCom. That's an automated retail company that uses facial recognition, AI, and blockchain technology to help retailers collect valuable customer insights. She has over 16 years of experience in marketing and business development, and she has launched 4 successful cash flow positive companies since 2002. She's been on Black Enterprise. She's on the cover of the June 2018 issue of Black Enterprise, which I have an autographed copy of, so that's dope. She's been on Forbes, Fortune Venture Beat, Huffington Post, Essence Magazine, and Miami Herald. She's a recognized leader in entrepreneurship and digital marketing. She was featured in the Who's Who in Black Columbus, Black Atlanta, and honored as one of the legacy of Miami's top 40 under 40 leaders in South Florida. The accolades go on and on. She was selected to participate in some of the nation's top accelerator programs for entrepreneurs, including NUMI. Everyone knows NUMI. Canopy Boulder, Techstars, Brink, and is recognized as one of the nation's top entrepreneurs on the rise. So I want to welcome Dawn to the podcast. What's up, Dawn?
Hey, Greg. First of all, you make me sound great. Thanks for the amazing
intro. You are great.
Man. Thank you. That was long, so thank you so much. Thanks, y'all. Thank you guys for listening, and of course for tuning in. And shout out to you for having this very dope community you've created. I was so happy when I ran into you, when we were in the Twin Cities, and I've heard of Blacks In Technology, but I was like, wow, this is the man behind it all, and I didn't even know you were in the same state as me. So
right,
that's phenomenal, and thanks for having me.
Ohio's doing it big.
You know what? It's true. It's really like the black people in Ohio are killing it. I mean, phenomenal. Yeah. But the thing is, as you probably see, and probably the foundation of why you created the organization, this community is like it's a ceiling. I mean, I feel like it's a kind of a ceiling in Ohio. It's a lot of limitations where a lot of us have to leave the area to like expand, which I was impressed by what's going on in the Twin Cities, actually.
Yeah.
I didn't know it was going down like that, but I'm happy you brought this communities to help us break through some of these barriers in Ohio, like get into the next
Definitely. And you know what's funny though? I was having this conversation with actually some people because we ran into each other again. When was it? A couple of weeks ago at Numi was having. They were doing had a cohort coming through, and they had a pitch competition, or I wouldn't say a competition. It was more of just a pitch night here in Cincinnati, Ohio. And we ran into each other again, and McKeever Conwell was there. Yep. So I was talking to him, and because a lot of people, they meet me and they don't know that I'm from Cincinnati. I don't know this is where everything started for Blacks in Technology. And I told him, like, you know what, man, like I didn't even focus on Cincinnati when I started out, and it was there were a few things, but mainly. I had been going to, different conferences around here and tech events, and when I talk to Black people here, and this is, I'm not trying to throw shade at Cincinnati, but when I talk to Black people here, they just weren't responsive to what I was trying to do as far as bring the community together, and so it was a little bit disheartening. So I go to like a tech conference. Like there was one some years ago. There were probably thousands of people there, and a handful of Black people. That's the story, the common story. And I made sure that I talked to every one of them, handed out cards, and to this day, I would say maybe one of them has probably joined BIT, and it was just, a disheartening thing. It's like, this is something that I'm trying to build for the community. And I know everyone has different priorities and things like that in life and in professional career. But to me, it's just like when you see something, you already see what we're up against. We're here in this conference, and there's, we're probably 1% of, the people in attendance here. So, why not come together and at least engage with one another, help each other build things like that. And so my thing was, I'm going to start something, and I'll focus on everything else, and then watch Cincinnati fall along later. And that's kind of how I approach it.
Your network is national. I mean, that was good too, because that's what I've realized a lot of times, even coming from your hometown or your home state. You got to make it big somewhere else and then come back home and you're the hometown hero. But it's like, I've been here all along. Like, I had to leave Columbus for 12 years for them to show me love. Crazy. It was interesting. So you built a national, probably global, literally network, and, based in Cincinnati. And so that's amazing in itself. So thanks again for having me, and everybody listening. Thank you for being a part of the community that is so important and so needed.
I gave you a little intro, but I want to get a little bit more information about you. So, tell us a little bit about yourself.
No, I'm gonna say something funny. Listen, you guys heard it. I'm born and raised in Columbus, Ohio. I'm a Buckeye, and after college, I started my first business. So I've been an entrepreneur. Now this is my 18th year. So I did work a corporate job for 8 months after college and realized it wasn't for me. And I went to school. I went to DeVry. So just to make a long story super short, I was in school for journalism, and I wanted to be a sportscaster or MTV VJ. I was so serious too. And when I had my job as an intern, you're in college, your last year of college, you work in your field, of course, to get an internship or to work and get a job when you graduate. And the job they gave me in the newsroom was uploading FTP, uploading to the server the news, downloading it from the reels. This isn't digital. There's not DVDs and stuff and jump drives. It's like downloading this and uploading it onto the first ever, watch the news online, but after it was, already done. Nobody at the station knew how to do it, but their IT person. So nobody wanted to do it. I mean, nobody was dealing with the internet. It wasn't a thing. Only a few people had emails for work. It wasn't a thing yet. It wasn't,
Right.
it wasn't a big, this is the 90s. And so they were like, give it to the entry level person to figure out how to work the internet. So I started doing it, and I'm like, wait a minute, this is the future. Like, the news is online, and I'm doing it, and I'm the only one here. I can strengthen my skills to get a job. I'm still thinking about getting a job. I'm like, I can strengthen my job skills and make more money if I have technical skills, so I can go to the newsroom and be like, y'all got to pay me more because I know how to work the internet, and y'all don't. So I went to DeVry, literally technical college. I looked it up. Where can I learn technical skills? Like, this is so basic. This is 2000. Where can I get some technical skills? Okay, DeVry Technical School. Okay, they have a BS in IT program. Okay, I'll do that. It was a 1-year executive program. After, of course, you get your first 4-year degree, go back and get another degree for a year. And I learned everything about computers, and it was in IT. And I was like, oh, snap, this is the way. Like, wait a minute. So I could code back then, HTML, and, this is when Java was early, but this is very early. I was really making little small video games. I know how to take a computer apart, just all the things around IT. But as we all know, IT in 2000, night and day from IT in 2019. So, but that was how I got introduced to it. So when I went and got more corporate job, I actually got interested in technology, and there was Nationwide Insurance was hiring jobs for like a business analyst and people that knew how to work and build on the intranet. And so I took one of those jobs because it paid $45,000. I was 21 years old, and at the newsroom they were like, "Oh, we'll give you a job for $20,000." I was like, I want a BMW, so we're about to roll with this tech job. And so, I did it for 8 months, and I realized the power of it and the things that I was doing and being innovative. Because the great thing about having a background in journalism and communication and marketing, that was my first, education, was like, most tech people don't have that. They don't have communication skills. They're not writers. They're not designers or creatives in most cases. So I had that advantage. And so I was like, I'm building intranets over there. And when I started working there, they were doing fax blast. That's how you send out messages. A fax blast. There was no such thing as an email blast. It didn't exist. So, I'm like, why are you guys not sending out emails or posting it on an intranet page? Make a page. And they're like, what? So I'm doing this for them. It's not going to make me wealthy. So I said, shoot, I can do this. I can do this for myself. And I was 21, 22. And a friend of mine, he was also, teaching himself Flash, and because he was an artist. So he was teaching himself Flash, Fireworks, Dreamweaver, HTML, Java to design. And I'm like, let's do a website and let's build it. And I'll use my marketing skills and all of this. And, we'll do a website with events and entertainment, and you build it. So he built the site. We were streaming video before YouTube. We were streaming music. He built a music player from scratch.
Right.
If we were in Silicon Valley, I would have been a millionaire back then. But it really was like social media before social media. But so I quit my job after 8 months, and I did that for 5 years and made money, really good money, from doing emails, selling emails. When emails first came out, I started doing emails. I was first just doing like templates in AOL, hand coding HTML emails, and charging people. And so that's how I got into it. And then, so I graduated from college at 21 from Ohio State, and then I went right back to DeVry that same year. So by the time I was 22, I was, making $45,000 and had my BMW right away. And I was like, building intranets and websites and stuff like that. But that's when I started my first business, which I didn't even know was called a tech company. I didn't even know.
Right.
It wasn't called a tech company back then. It wasn't called a startup. This was 2001, and we had a whole web.
Wow.
We were getting over 100,000 visits a month, hits a month. Yeah, it was amazing, just from Columbus, Ohio, Central Ohio. So then, I did that for 5 years. It did really well. It was a media outlet. It was a great business. It was great. Definitely made money. Definitely was a great business. Didn't know how to scale it. Was very young, of course. All these programs that are out here today, I didn't know anybody that did what I was doing. There was no Blacks in Technology. There was nothing. There was nothing. There was no mentor. There was no nothing. So we were just doing this. As young people.
Yeah, and it's really interesting that you mentioned that, because I mean that was kind of one of the foundations of building Blacks in Technology, was like, hey, like, who do we turn to? Not only for just to have the kind of like the safe space where we can talk about things that go beyond technology, right? Like, somebody's having an issue in workspace where there's racism involved, or what have you. Like, we have that safe space for that. But also, where do you go when you want to talk to somebody about building a company or learning a new technology, and maybe some of your other counterparts aren't as responsive to you, right? You kind of feel isolated and things like that. So it spawned from that very thing, and I wish that we were around in 2000. Yeah.
Back then, was real isolation. There was no such thing as social media. There was no such thing as blogs. There was no such thing as podcasts. I didn't know Silicon Valley existed. I never heard of it. I'm building tech. Like, I'm making money, and I never heard of Silicon Valley, because how would I? I mean, this is during the wars of like search engine wars, so the Netscape and the Googles and the Excite and Indeeds and all that was the thing back then. Figured out a way to catalog this information that's on this World Wide Web. Like, that was the thing. So, it's just ahead of our time. And so it's just amazing to see like the evolution of not only technology, but like Black people and people of color, even though it's terrible statistics. We hear them over and over and over and over, but you have to keep in mind, it started at zero. Like, zero. So even though we're 3% or now, 1%, I never seen anybody that looked like me at anything. I told you I was the only person at the whole news station that even knew how to work the damn internet. So
definitely. And this is a good segue.
I love to see
talk about
how far we've
your
come.
podcast, Bars. And you talk candidly. I've listened to a lot of the episodes where you talk very candidly. You have different guests and things like that as well. But you talk very candidly about being a Black woman entrepreneur. So to our audience who hasn't checked it out yet, hopefully you will after hearing this podcast. Tell us what Bars is about. Kind of go into like why you decided to launch a podcast.
Yeah. Thanks for the shout out. I'm glad you listened to it. So Bars was really inspired by what I call an epic rant. Like, one day on IG Live, I just downloaded everything that was on my mind about like the tech industry and women and Black people and just everything that I had experienced. I just downloaded it, and to the point where people it got so many. Why? It was like a buzz. It was like a buzz, right? And so I said, you know what? Instead of just like going in on the way things are and talking about how, like, I talked about how a lot of Black people, we talk about these statistics that we don't get any money, we can't raise money, it's hard for us, but then we get to the table and we don't got our shit together. And it's like too many of us can't pitch, too many of us don't know financials, too many of us haven't taken the proper steps to even ask for investment, but have expectation that you should get it, like it's like affirmative action or something. So I worked hard, so I don't think there should be any handouts, period. So instead of me saying this, I said, you know what? I'm going to download everything that I know, things that I had to learn the hard way. That's what I was initially even going to call the podcast until my co-host and my team came up with the name Bars, because it really is a reflection of like we spitting real bars. I'm a hip hop fan. Everybody, it's very hip hop driven. It's like all the music is hip hop. We give quotables, hip hop quotables. It's all about bars. So I say it's like the Breakfast Club or the Joe Budden podcast version for like, but talking about entrepreneurship and really the real deal. And so I said, I'm going to just download everything, but I'm going to do it in order. So it starts from episode 1, where it's like, be self-aware. Before you can even talk about starting a business, you need to really understand what you're getting into. So like, I literally walk you through from thinking about being an entrepreneur, growing your whole business, getting customers, raising money, managing money, everything in 7 episodes. And the final 7th episode is about self-care. So that's season 1. And we're actually taking it on the road. And we'll be at South by Southwest. So that's exciting because we're taking bars on the road and gonna start doing it live. But it's on Apple, it's on Spotify, it's on Google. It's The Bars Podcast on Instagram. You can find the links there. But it really is like my body of work. Of course, we have a team. You know, Christopher Scott, he's our content director, and he's the DJ, and like making sure the music goes along with the theme. It's very important that when we talk about, all the music in the background is talking about that topic, because I believe there's a hip hop quotable for every situation in life. So that's kind of like, those are the bars that I go off of. So that's my contribution. And I
want to say something.
I feel like if you listen
kudos
to bars,
to, you know,
you're ready. You're ready
and
to
giving us this contribution. And
Period.
the reason why is because it's something that I've had frustrations with when it comes to, you know, let's say, just for instance, like I'll read about or hear about or even, you know, watch a video of an entrepreneur, right? And I get tired of rah-rah speeches, right? I get tired of, you know, kind of the pomp, like, follow your passion. Like, that's not going to get me money. Like, I understand that the concept behind it, but where's the applicable information at? What can I take from this and apply right now? I can't apply follow your passion. Like, that's not, you know. So right. I love it when I hear people talk about, like, you know, I want to give people the real, the 100%, what it's like, what you're going to be facing, what you need to get together. Because as you said, you know, you find out, you know, like, people don't have their shit together when it comes to pitching, or they might not know about their financials. And so instead of giving these people rah-rah speeches, let's give them something that they can actually take and apply, that they can go and use that information to make themselves and make their company or what have you better. So that's why, you know. Yeah.
Actionable items. People will send me on Instagram, Greg, it's amazing, and it just makes me feel so fulfilled in life, literally, that I can impact people in that way. They'll send me on Instagram pages of notes that they take from my podcast. They'll tell me it was like a podcast version of an accelerator, because there's things that they never heard of or never knew, and it's critical things. And most of the time when I found out about these things was in critical moments where I needed it now, and I'm like, damn, I didn't even know what this was.
Yeah.
And they're asking me right now. I'm in the room. I'm at the table. And I don't know. I got my shit together. It happened to me. And I'm like, you know, we can't keep letting this happen, because it is a thing called pattern matching. And if we keep going to the table and our shit ain't together, we're not going to keep getting invited, period. So that's why for me, I said, I'm not going to, I feel a way when I say, like, oh, I'm the first black woman to do this or that. And I'm like, actually the first black woman to do several things. So are my peers. A lot of women, and it's not good to say that if there's not a second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, you know, 100,000, to the point where you lose count. So we can't just get in a position of information, knowledge, access, and not share it. I feel like it's our responsibility. And so the way to do that, like now, I mean, the podcast, and I'm definitely going to come out with a couple of books, and we're working on a documentary as well. And it's just content. It's content that what I want to leave to be, you know, what my legacy is like, why does everybody have to learn the hard way, like this hard? Like, I just need to tell people, because the things have been devastating that I've had to go through if somebody would have just told me.
I'm 100% with you. I'm big on content, right? Like, if you check out Blacks In Technology, you'll see the podcast. That's one. But if you're going deeper, you'll see the videos. Like, we did a series called The Tech Life, and our first series of that was called Getting Hired, because, you know, I was tired of hearing this narrative around. I wouldn't say I was the narrative per se. It was more of the the articles that were coming out, and this was probably a couple years ago, when every article that came out was about how Silicon Valley hates black people. You know, and I'm being a little bit facetious when I say that, but you know, a lot of these articles they were coming out and they were like that, and I was just like, well, this is a little bit counterproductive. Like, you know, like I understand the disparities in Silicon Valley, but how do we expect people to honestly want to get into IT or tech, or you know, as an entrepreneur, as an employee, or what have you, if all we're doing is saying Silicon Valley hates our guts, right? So my thing was, you know what, I've listened to the community for a long time, and I've heard some of the horror stories about, you know, getting into an interview and not knowing, you know, not being comfortable or not being prepared and things like that. So how do I take information from people that have already been there, been in that position, and then present it to our community, right? So that's how the Tech Life series got started. The first one was Getting Hired, like I mentioned, where I interviewed, you know, some VPs, some software engineers that worked at some of these top tech companies, and just really got in their head about, you know, hey, what did it take for you to get hired at, let's say, Amazon, or you know, or GitHub, or what have you, and then using that, taking that content, using that information as a resource for the community, because now the next person, they know before they even, you know, take a look at the video, and you get information from the horse's mouth, so to speak, right? And now you're armed with that information. So I love that you're doing that on the entrepreneurial side with bars. So yeah, definitely, I'm hyped for season 2.
Yeah, thanks. And definitely got to interview you, because I'm going to now this time have people on. The first season was like downloading the roadmap. And now if you stick around for season 2, we're really going to have some great conversations with people, you know, in all areas. And I think it's really important, your perspective, because everything I do is mainly startup focused, but there are so many people that are actually in tech as a career. And that's absolutely, first of all, we need them to help run our company and build our dreams with us. And then these bigger companies, we need them in there with the diversity to keep them accountable. So everybody doesn't need to be a CEO or do a startup. We need black people, we need people of color, we need women, we need everybody on all levels to really keep this balance. So I want to speak to those people more, and I know you have a really great perspective about that. So I'll definitely hit you up to be on there with me.
No doubt. Don't, you know, just whenever you're ready, just let me know. But you know, I want to speak to something real quick. When it comes to, you know, being an entrepreneur and you know, being in tech in general, right? Like, because sometimes I hear entrepreneurs, they kind of speak ill towards people who are working, right? Which I don't like. I don't think there's any reason to, you know, kind of condescend people who choose to have a job as opposed to, you know, going out on their own and building a tech company. But the thing that I found when listening to other podcasts, you know, for instance, is that a lot of these entrepreneurs that you see building like enterprise level type of stuff, for instance, right? They come from companies, being employees at companies, and understanding and seeing the problems that these other companies have, and which allows them to branch off, right, and build their own thing that solves that problem. That's what I found.
Yes, definitely. And most of them are still employees too, because they don't own their businesses anymore. They're employees of their company, and they're the CEO, and that's the job. Right. You're no longer the majority shareholder. You're not the owner. You're the founder. You have a job. So most of them have jobs like everybody else.
Right. So I want to talk to you about CEO, PopCom. So let's talk a little bit about, you know, what PopCom is, what problem does it solve, and give us a glimpse into how did you come to realize that this problem even existed.
Yes, definitely. So as you said in the beginning, PopCom is an automated retail technology company. In the very basic language, we make vending machines and digital kiosks smarter. We build technology, we build software, hardware for automated retail, which in an everyday example of automated retail is you checking out your groceries self-checkout, tagging your bag at the kiosk and getting your boarding pass, going and buying some headphones in the airport from the Best Buy, buying makeup from the Benefit machine, and even as buying a soda, buying a snack, even though we don't work on those type of with those type of machines, we focus more on just general retail and ordering kiosks. But those are all automated retail in a very, very antiquated, dated, old industry. But there's millions of them everywhere, taking up real estate and not leveraging technology in any way, and not collecting any type of data, and really not even on the same level of technology as a brick and mortar or e-commerce. So it came from me getting into this business from my company Flat Out of Heels that I started in 2011, which are rollable ballet flats for women. So shoes that you can put in your purse, roll them up, fold them. They're machine washable, but they're for when your feet hurt when you're wearing heels. Got this idea living in Miami, going to clubs, seeing women walking barefoot. And my idea was, let me sell some flats to these women in vending machines at the club, because then they won't have to walk barefoot. They leave the club, they can get some flats, throw their shoes in the bag. So people loved it, and it really did take off as a concept. It was a very new thing in 2011. Wasn't really any competitors in the space at all. But the vending space, it wasn't being done. So, but I thought it was a great idea because it's an on-demand product. That's when you need it most, when your feet hurt. So that's when I set out to really find a vending machine that I could sell my shoes in. And that's when I realized that they didn't exist. What I had in my mind as far as functionality, footprint, meaning the size of the machine, capabilities, credit card processing, at the basic level, credit card processing, it didn't exist in 2011, 2012. So I said, I'm going to build my own. And that's always been my attitude as an entrepreneur. I mean, again, my first business in 2001, started another business in 2005, a consulting agency where I worked on many products and many things and launched many projects and products as a consultant, but still got to put my hands on a lot of things. So I feel like, if I see a problem and I see the pain point, and at this time it was my pain point, I was going to solve it. Easier said than done. Of course, entrepreneurs are crazy. That's why I always say you got to be a little crazy to just jump out there and just say, I'm going to build a vending machine then. Like, it's just some regular stuff to do. And looking back, I'm like, what were you thinking? Because you got to do the hardest shit of all time. You could have built an app and been making money by now, but you want to go build some super hard shit. But that's what I love to do, is also just tackle those hard problems. So I did it though. I found someone in the UK to build a vending machine, built 5 machines for me. And I put my first ever Flat Out of Heels vending machine in the Atlanta airport, which is, again, like, just blessed. I can't say nothing else but that, because my very first machine in the Atlanta airport, which is the #1 airport in the world, what's the chances of that? That's the pure blessing. But that's doing that and bringing that hardware out, and then being an operator. So then I became a vending machine operator. So like, I'm have an e-commerce store. I'm selling shoes. I'm wholesaling. I'm getting shoes manufactured in China. I'm designing shoes. And now I'm operating vending machines in international airports and nightclubs, and learning so much about just retail in general, because I'm working on all sides of it. And that's when I got really, really comfortable and really spoiled by the level of analytics and data that I got from my website, from Shopify, Google Analytics, AdRoll, many, many tools in the e-commerce environment, just CRM, retargeting, remarketing, everything. And I'm selling shoes in airports and nightclubs, and I can't even send an email. I can't even send a receipt. I mean, it's just so basic. And there was another problem that I needed to solve. So now the hardware problem was solved. Now we need data. I want to send an email. I need an operating system. I want a touch screen. I mean, this is before touch screens existed on vending machines, and there was no kiosks back then. I mean, I feel like old saying stuff like this, but it's really the speed of technology. The speed of innovation is so fast. It's so much faster than ever been before. So, again, I'm like, okay, I got these machines built, and the whole damn industry is changing again. And now I need touchscreens, and now I need, to be able to be connected. Again, the internet connected, IoT, this is new. So I said, all right, well, it doesn't exist. I've traveled all over the country. I went to Asia. It doesn't exist. I have to build it. And so I set out to build a software platform, and started a software company and hardware company just from solving problems.
Yeah.
And that's how I came to PopCom, when I realized so many other people have this problem. So many other retailers, operators, they want to sell products and vending. The vending machines, they don't have data, and the hardware is just all looks like a rectangle with glass in the front, and it's not sexy. So here I am. Here's PopCom.
Wow. Very, very interesting journey. So tell me this: how did you go about getting your machine into the Atlanta International Airport? How did that process?
It's crazy. Again, it's a blessing because, first of all, I do want to say I have an amazing network. It feels like my whole life, God has put the great people in my life and have very long relationships, and the people that I've known for years and my network and the people that are around me come into positions of extreme influence, and they have helped me. And a lot of people have contributed to where I am today. Lots. And so in this particular instance, I'm talking about my idea. I'm an entrepreneur just starting out with some shoes idea, talking to a woman that I know. And she said, do you want to be in the Atlanta airport? My friend, Bill Swift, runs concessions he has the contract for all the concessions.
Wow.
OG had it for days, back Maynard Jackson days. OG. Runs concessions, which includes vending machines. And she just walked me in to meet him, got a meeting with him. He liked it. Which one thing about Atlanta is, the community does put you on and uplift one another, and people are very helpful. And so he was like, yeah, I love what you're doing. So it's a process. So he said yes, as a concessionaire. He said, I'll bring you in as a sub-concessionaire with a 10-year contract.
Wow. Those
are hard to get. It's the airport company. I'll bring you in as a sub-concessionaire, and it got to get approved by the airport, which is a state or city. It's government owned, regulated. Everything has to go through a process. But they walked me through the process. I had to pay for a build out. I raised money. Once you tell somebody, I got an airport contract, it wasn't too hard for me to get angel investment from my high net worth friends, which again, my network is great. My first investors were Black angels, all of them. I know they were all my friends or former clients or people I went to college with. All Black people gave me like $400,000. So when you talk about there's no Black angel, again, it's just network. It's just network. So that I really got walked into the airport. Same thing with Club Live, literally. I said, Club Live is the number one club in Miami right now. It's going down. My friend said, you want to talk to Dave Grumman? He's the GM. He runs it. Walk me into his office, 10 minute meeting. Here's what I'm trying to do. He was like, fine, let's do it. All right. Is that it?
The universe is working for you.
Have a good day. Bye-bye. It always does. It always does. And that's karma. That's what you call following the golden rule. And so the seeds that were sown in middle school, high school, college, early career, like people came back and helped me from 20 years. It's not like, it's amazing. It really is. But again, that's why I'm so compelled to give back with things like bars and just giving as much of my time and information as I can. Because I've been extremely, extremely fortunate and blessed in this whole process. Now, of course, very difficult times, lots of broke times, lots of super, super broke times. Things didn't go right. Things broke.
Yeah.
People stole money. Lots of things, but that's a part of it. But overall,
we're going to get, because I want to know some of these failures. There's a lot of people, that they hear, stories of entrepreneurs and they only hear like the successes. So I want to get back to that in a second. But tell us a little bit about, because you were telling us about how you have the actual hardware built over in the UK. What did that first MVP of your hardware look like?
The first MVP actually was built in Spain. I found them on Alibaba. So Alibaba was a very new platform when I started working on it. Very new, like a listserv, like basic.
Right.
And so I found my shoe manufacturer on there, which I still work with today. So we've been doing business together 8 years. Great relationship with the factory in China. Then I'm scouring the internet because I can't find anybody in the United States, in the entire United States, that would build like a small run of custom vending machines for me. It wasn't a thing. It's 2011. And so I found on Alibaba, guy in Spain, he was refurbishing cigarette vending machines into other things. I said, okay, I can put my shoes in a box that's pretty compact, and I can dispense it out of a cigarette vending machine. So I don't know nothing yet. I'm learning. I don't know nothing yet.
Yeah.
So I sent this man $15,000 basically to build me. Maybe it's like 12, but once you factor in shipping,
Right.
to refurbish these machines. I sent him some boxes, make him fit these boxes. I said, okay, I wanted to accept credit cards, so I went out and bought a credit card unit that you get. You can buy them. I bought a credit card reader, sent it over to Spain, sent in graphics, went through the whole process. It was so beautiful. Didn't go over there, just communicated on email and Skype, if we even had Skype. Maybe we did have Skype because we had to talk somehow.
Right.
And then shipped them over to the U.S. And when I plugged them in, they lit up. It looked beautiful. I took a picture, put it on Facebook. I was so excited. And they didn't work at all because there was no engineering done. Like, this is a machine. If it's going to accept credit cards, it has to be some work done to give it the command for when you swipe the card for something to come out.
Right.
There was no work done on that. It didn't work. They never worked. I ended up selling them for $8 for scrap metal after I kept them in storage for 10 years, basically. What, now 10 years? No, not 10 years. 8 years. Yeah, because I just got rid of them this summer. But I found somebody on LinkedIn that was winning awards for building like really cool vending machines, little dispensing things. He was just doing some cool stuff in vending when nobody else was. And I convinced him, I had a good business plan. I had my shit together a little bit, enough.
Okay.
Until the VCs told me I didn't. But I had enough to show him, convince him to work with me, and he did. And I flew over to the UK this time. No more spending money without testing the product. And went over to the UK, made sure it worked. It did work. I mean, there was a software engineer, and there was also a mechanical engineer, and there was an electrical engineer that worked on it as well. So there was a team. It was a custom machine, and those are the ones that I brought to market. But again, they were dated very fast because they didn't have touchscreens because that technology wasn't introduced yet. So, but they worked.
Wow. Very, very, very cool story. I mean, because a lot of people, they automatically think that, the first iteration of whatever your idea is needs to be 100.
I'm on version 5 right now.
5, right.
It's not even out. It's not even out. I'm on version 5, and it's not even out. Think about that. I built 3. We went through the whole specs and spent thousands of dollars for 2 that never got built. And now I'm on the final iteration and the one that's going to market this year, finally.
So how many people are on your team right now?
Now we have 5 full-time, and we have like 3 contractors. We're a small team of really software engineers, and, we outsource. I'm a fan of outsourcing. It's not the model that they tell us to do when you're building a company and scaling it, on a venture capital perspective. But for me, the type of very highly specialized and highly qualified talent that I need, I can't afford to keep them full time. And typically that level of talent likes to be free. They have their own company. Like my CTO, he has his own whole software development company, and he's a full-time CTO for me, but he has a whole empire of his own. So I found that, for me personally, what works best for me is going out and finding the best and, working with a team of entrepreneurs, essentially. Everybody on my team has multiple things that they do. I mean, this is their full-time role, of course, but like me, I have like 2 other companies. So working with people like that, we don't need a huge team because we have like extreme performers and producers that I don't have to pay employment tax and Social Security on a 1099. Love that.
There's a little nugget. There's a nugget right there, people.
That, when you first pay payroll and get hit with them taxes, you got to pay taxes to pay people. I was like, wait a minute, what? I had to pay people? No, y'all 1099. Nah.
So how'd you go about finding? Because I come across a lot of people that are like, I need a technical CTO, or I need a software developer. How do you? Because I have people hit me up all the time on email because of Blacks in Technology, and I, a lot of times I just say, hey, come to the community and kind of, you have this. I'm not into the business of sourcing talent, right? So I'll say, hey, come to our community and find some people there. I'm pretty sure, if you present the right opportunity to someone, somebody might jump at it. But how do you go about, how did you go about finding your CTO and the other people that are on your team?
Yeah, and I wish it worked as easy as you said. People just jump on it. I really do. It's a process. It's like finding your roommate or your significant other, especially when it's the core team. The core team is different. You're close. Your CTO, your CFO, your CMO, your executive team. These are close people to you. As you grow and have a bigger company, of course, it's a different process. You can hire for the skill set, and it's a lot easier. And people can come and go, and there is turnover in that. But your core team, people that are going to build your dream with you, you have to be really aligned on the same page, and it takes time. So my CTO, I met him a year before I was able to work with him through a program that I was in. I'm a big fan and advocate of getting involved with entrepreneur development programs, incubators, accelerators, just for the network that you can get in attending events and conferences like a startup weekend and things like that. Just going in a startup week and just all of those things where you could just get visibility. And of course, being a part of groups like Blacks in Technology, because you have to build real human relationships with people. You can't just be like, oh, your resume. It's not about your resume. It ain't about your skills. It's like, can you work together? Can you really go through the fire with this person? Shit is going to be very, very hard. Can you guys manage this together? Because it's going to be rough. Like, you might run out of money, which we have. Are you going to still be right? And are you going to still be there? So it's like, are you really down for this? And when I first met him, it was through a program that I was a part of. And I couldn't afford him. Like, I was looking for somebody to build my MVP. So I interviewed several firms. He was my favorite, but I couldn't afford him. I just couldn't. So I stayed in touch with him, and I liked him as a person. I kept him updated on what I had going on. I send quarterly updates to my network, and I send monthly updates to my mentors and my investors. So I keep people updated on what I'm doing, so they always know, like, it's not out the blue where I'm popping up like out of nowhere. They know what I'm doing. And so when I raised money, after I went through Techstars and I did, we closed our round, I said, I want to go and work with him because I really been building a relationship with him over time. And he is the one to do this. He knows what to do. And his team that he's assembled, he came with a team of phenomenal people. And that's the thing. I didn't have to go out and hire everybody one by one. He came with a group of people that I really love working with. And this is my team. And it doesn't matter how much money I raise or these are the people that I want to work with. And, when I went through Techstars, they were telling me, no, you need to hire your own full-time in-house CTO. You need a technical co-founder. And they pressure me, and investors pressure me. And I did, even try to get a co-founder for a minute. I'm a single founder for years, but they pressured me to get a co-founder. And I went and got somebody that didn't fit or work at all, just to have somebody basically to put on my deck to make them stop hounding me, which caused me issues later because I had to fire him and go through all kinds of BS. But, the thing is, I just realized, don't conform, trust yourself. You know what works best for you. So now it's like, I don't care how much money I raise. This is my team. And it takes a while to meet these people. And nobody that I work with was like overnight and just popped into place. It all took time. And especially when you don't have a lot of money, because the crazy thing is, it's good and bad, right? Because you're a startup, you announce a big round, everybody know you have money. You say, oh, such and such raised $1 million, $2 million, $10 million, $20 million. They know you got money. And so they want to work with you because they know you can pay these salaries, and they come in and want 60, 70, 80, 100, 120. These salaries are getting in Silicon Valley, and they know you can pay it. And then your VCs tell you to budget for it. They tell you to budget for these really, really high salaries. But then it's like, what's going to happen when you're in between rounds and you run out? Those people will dip because they're about money. When it's not about money, you see who's really down for you. And so I had a bigger team. And when our resources were low, when we had to get lean, because I'm focused on building product, I'm not going to keep on raising money and diluting myself. I'm going to be lean and I'm going to get my product out and I'm going to grow from revenue. That was my decision. And we had to downsize the team. And the people that was riding, and they still riding. And the people that, wasn't a good fit, they're moved on, and it's all love. But that's when you'll find out, and so it does take time, and it's not an easy thing, but you have to just build real human relationships.
Nice. Yeah, definitely. Thanks for sharing that. Pretty sure some people listening will be able to take some good nuggets from what you just said there. I want to talk to you a little bit about. I know you mentioned raising money and money running out, but more importantly, you referred to being able to do things kind of how you want to do them, and people were pressuring you, and even though things didn't feel right, you felt pressured. And so I like what you're doing when it comes to this initial coin offering, and this is different. This is different from raising money the traditional way for your startup. So tell us a little bit about this process. What is an initial coin offering? What's referred to as an ICO, and how did you decide, or why did you decide on this course of action as opposed to like the traditional VC route?
Yeah, so I'm gonna keep it really short because it's long, and I talk about it in so much depth on my Medium blog. It's called my ICO STO journey. So like Gregg said, initially we're doing initial coin offering, an ICO, which is a way of raising money using cryptocurrency or creating a token as a security. But there was a lot of laws that changed 2018 around using a token as a security because of the multi-millions, billions that was raised by startups. A lot of that fraudulently, money mismanaged, and there was really no regulation around raising money the way that the SEC regulates the other types of fundraising that we do, whether it be through, of course, a stock exchange or, going public, an IPO, or private funds, private equity, and things like that. So the rules changed, and they said, no, you can't just be out here raising money with a white paper and doing ICOs. But they did say what was legal was a secure token offering, which is essentially using a token as a security. So you tokenize your cap table, which in simple terms, it means when you're a C corporation, you have shares. That's what they're called. When you're LLC, you have membership units that represent ownership. You can take those shares of the C corporation and you can turn them into tokens. This is another word. It's just another instrument. They'll go into a wallet, into a token wallet that you hold and you keep instead of on a piece of paper and on a cap table that's managed by a lawyer. That's the difference. You hold your securities. We keep record of your securities. That's the difference in a token as a security and just saying you have shares in something. So the SEC, along with, the Jobs Act, which was passed in 2012 by President Obama, which allows startups to sell equity in their company in the form of crowdfunding to non-accredited investors, which is historical, groundbreaking legislation that greatly impacts our communities. The difference between a non-accredited investor and an accredited investor is basically wealth. So if you're an accredited investor, you have a net worth of $1 million, or you have reported $200,000 on your taxes 2 years in a row, or $300,000 as a couple. Non-accredited is everybody else. So basically, you're already wealthy. And the only people that have historically been able to get in on early stage privately traded, privately held companies like the early stage tech companies, like the Ubers, like the Twitters, all these companies that people are rich by the time the IPO hits. By the time the shit's on the stock market, they're rich already. The only way to get in on those deals is to already be rich, to be wealthy already, because you have to be accredited. When this law was passed to allow you to raise equity from non-accredited, that means now your friends, your family, anybody can get in on an early deal legally, through regulation CF, which stands for crowdfunding, a part of the Jobs Act. And so I decided that I was going to do that. And so I tokenized my cap table. And the reason I did that is because if I'm taking money from non-accredited investors, meaning people like me and you, People like my family members and friends who might have 500, 1,000, 2,000, 500, whatever they have to invest, and they may not be able to hold that investment for the standard 10 years. Everybody thinks you're going to get in an investment and flip. No, it's not. It's not a flip. Sometimes companies do exit in 3 to 5 years. That's rare. In general, when you're making an investment, especially like VCs, the fund life cycle is 10 years. So when you make an investment in a startup company, then you're expecting to hold that for 10 years.
Exactly.
These are accredited, wealthy people. They can let some racks sit for 10 years. Non-accredited people, the people that I'm asking to give me money, they might not be able to do that. So the reason why I decided to tokenize my cap table and do a secure token offering is that it's only a 12-month holding period for those shares. So once we issue the tokens and it goes into their personal wallet, so they actually have possession of shares that are shares or tokens. When we put our company on an exchange and start to trade, list it like a privately held, so like it's like the New York Stock Exchange, NASDAQ, but it's a crypto exchange for tokens. They can trade those tokens and they can get liquidity legally. So, for example, in the past, it took me 7 months to go from a $4 million to $8 million valuation. So my investors' shares, they're worth double. So as the company grows, of course, the tokens grow because they represent a share. And so you can cash out when you want to. And that was important for me to be able to introduce this as a way to invest, to get liquidity, to raise money from your community. There are limitations. The total amount you can raise a year is $1,070,000, but that's a lot of money to get your startup going, $1 million. And not as high as lawyer bills. I spent $70,000 in lawyer bills to raise my other round. So, it's just a new way. It's very, very new. I'm doing it now. I'm on Start Engine. You can check it out, startengine.com/PopCom, or just go to my website, popcom.shop. It's there. But, and a lot of education has to be done to teach people about this. And that's what I've been really doing, not only for, of course, I want people to invest in me, but I want people to invest in something. I want people to see that you can raise money from your people, your communities now. And now we can get into early stage tech deals. Now we can create some real wealth in our communities by profiting off these companies. Because you mentioned earlier about all these amazing peers, of ours that are raised millions and have companies that are going to be up in the unicorns. We have some peers that definitely will be some Black founders in the unicorn status. And those people on their cap table don't, a lot of times they're not their family members or friends, and they don't really look like them. The community get a chance to invest in them because they're left out of these deals because they weren't accredited. So now, we can have our people eat off these tech founders like myself that's busting my butt out here to grow a business. And now my friends have invested, and I'm looking forward to, writing a check to my friends when I exit. One of my friends told me she sold her company, and she said the hardest thing for her to do was write checks to people who didn't do anything to help her. Like VCs that got in, and they got a bag, huge bag, and they didn't help her. I am going to be so happy to give money to people that I know when after I sell my company or whatever, the outcome is, or they can get liquidity on an exchange. So I encourage everybody to do your research and understand the laws and understand how there's other ways to raise money. And I don't believe, even though I've raised over $1 million from VCs and angels, I don't believe in the VC Silicon Valley machine. It doesn't work for everybody.
What you just said and what you're doing is so incredible. Because I not only can I hear the passion in your voice when it comes to what you're doing and giving back to the community and things like that, but I also hear the loyalty, right? And there's you run across some people that they don't really care about the community, right? They're more concerned about getting money, and I can tell that you're just a genuine person when it comes to wanting to do the right thing. Of course, you want to build your business and make money for yourselves and things like that, but you also want to help empower others and empower the community. So I think that's super commendable.
Thank you. Really, I'm telling you, so many people have helped me. so many people have poured into me. Of course, I learned a lot of things the hard way because mainly people around me weren't aware of the information. It was in a concentrated area with a certain group of people that had that information and knowledge. Now we have it. We have to share it. But if it was not for so many people doing things, I mean, everybody that bought flat outs from Facebook when I just launched it out of nowhere and they supported, I mean, all those people, every single person that contributed to where I am. So it makes me very happy.
I think that's a testament. Not everybody possesses that, right? Like, I was talking to a friend, someone the other day, and this is something that is going through my mind quite a bit. Because you'll see someone and they'll be like, hey, I want to thank my mom for raising me and blah blah blah, which is true. But for me, I'm like, you know what? Yeah, my mom and dad, did a tremendous job in helping to raise me. But there are a ton of other people who helped raise me too, either directly or indirectly, right? Like either I've seen, their failures and learned from that, or it's a lesson that they taught me directly and said, hey, don't do this. Or I've seen the way that they were living, and I might have asked them, like, hey, how did you obtain this, blah, blah, blah. And they might have told me. Like, people, they tend to forget, all those interactions throughout their lives, like what really built them up to be the person who they are and achieve the things that they achieve. Yeah. And so I think it's refreshing when you say, all these people helped me. It wasn't just, of course you did things, you grinded and all that, but you acknowledge the help that you received from everyone else, and that you wouldn't be where you're at right now without that help, and I think that's dope. So a few more questions.
Thank you, definitely.
We recently ran into each other. I think we mentioned earlier a couple of weeks ago at the New Me Pitch Night in Cincinnati, Ohio, and you told me that you were serving as an entrepreneur in residence. I myself had no idea what an entrepreneur in residence is or does. So for the people who don't know about New Me, who don't know about what an entrepreneur in residence is, tell us what New Me is and what the function is of an entrepreneur in residence.
Yeah, thanks. Yes, and I'm glad you stopped by to check out those teams because I mean they came a long way, and I'm really excited to be a part of like that type of growth. To see how people can grow in 5 days is amazing. So the backpedal a little bit. Entrepreneur in residence is essentially you come in, they know you're an entrepreneur. You bring, if you're doing it in a corporate sense, because most corporations have an entrepreneur in residence. It's just like a position they have. You bring innovation, ideas. You think like an entrepreneur. You think like we think different. We're different types of people. Kind of crazy, very innovative, take risks, see outside the box. You need that a lot of times in a corporate environment. It's necessary. And then in an accelerator environment, like New Me, it's an accelerator. I went through New Me when it was ran by Angela Benton, who sold it to Lighthouse. That is the parent company that's based in Cincinnati. Shout out to Angela. She was a mentor to me. I love her very deeply. She's a pioneer. And we wouldn't be here without Angela, like, period. Black people, like, she's that important in the movement for Black people, period. So she started New Me, and I went through the program. She taught me how to do a financial model. I was one of those people that was like, I'm not a numbers person. If you're going to have a business, be a CEO, your ass better be a numbers person immediately. And so she really helped me get my shit together. She's like, no, Dawn, no, you figure it out. And so did Brian Burkeen. I spent probably 3 days trying to build my first financial model in Excel. It was so confusing. I had to learn formulas and everything, but they got me together. And so knowing that impact that they had for me, it made me want to give back in that way. But it's like, how can I really do it? And so when New Me approached me and said, listen, can you teach, be an entrepreneur in residence, but essentially come and facilitate for a week at a time in the accelerator, I can hands-on teach people what I talk about in bars and actually teach people the curriculum that Angela set up that taught me and helped me be where I am today. So I'm actually like literally going back and teaching what I was taught and adding, the things that I've learned. And that's my real passion. And that's really what I want to do after, when I do exit, is continue to just help people, be an educator and but teach classes in that way. And so New Me, the website is newme.in. And I'm actually doing a class in Miami, March 4th through 8th, and I'm doing another class in Los Angeles and back in Miami. But it's 5-day program. Housing and food is included, and then the whole course is very affordable, and it's worth every penny, because when I tell you those companies came in on Monday, and by the time they left Friday, they were ready. I mean, I was so blown away by just how, when they got the right information, how they responded to it. Most of the time, our shit ain't together because we don't know what we don't know. And that's the bottom line. And somebody comes in and is like, this is all you need to know, and like work with you. I can't wait to see the future of Blacks in Tech, and I'm happy to be a part of it. So if anybody really wants some hands-on, and it's very selective, because it's not for if you have an idea. It's for if you like really are working on your business, you need to get to the next level, you need to get it tight, you need to be ready to scale, to get money, whatever. Come work hands-on, go very intense with myself, with Makira, with Brian, with Candace, and other entrepreneurs that come in and work hands-on, depending on what city it is. So if you're ready to really get to the next level, you got to invest in yourself. And the great thing I love about New Me too is the feeder to Hillman. Basically, people, they go pay for the program, which is very affordable. They get you together, and then Hillman, which is the accelerator that actually invests, and Lighthouse, which actually invests. You're in front of investors now, and they actually made an investment in a company from the last cohort just 2 weeks ago. So it's a great way to get yourself in position. It's a great way to get yourself in position and make sure that you are tight. And I mean, I will say Brian and I are some of the best, and we're not perfect, but we're some of the best for sure. And Brian's had a lot of things going on in the public with his company, and it's an amazing example of things to do right and things not to do. And that's what we're here to do, is be an example, and hopefully everybody learns from what we did right and what we did wrong.
That's super dope. And shout out to, and you mentioned Candace, but that's Candace Burkeen.
Candace Burkeen, that's right. The Mrs. Burkeen.
Yeah, so, and shout out to Candace, because I met Candace, I would say a few years ago, here in Cincinnati, and she was actually, because she's an entrepreneur herself, and she had founded a company called Hello Parent. I can't remember if she reached out to me, if I reached out to her, I can't remember, but and then she started a group called Black Founders here in Cincinnati.
Yep.
And we would kind of we would hang out. They would put on organize social events and things like that, and meetings and everything. And that kind of dissolved a little bit. And I kind of found myself not being as involved in that. And then it kind of struck up again, right? And then there was a thing called, what was that? Future History Now, that happened a couple of years ago, downtown Cincinnati.
So cool.
And and I was a part of a panel on that. And then things kind of got quiet again. And I think that was Candace kind of doing her thing in the background. And next thing you know, she pops up with Hillman. And so I'm like, oh, that's super dope. Yep. And then, she was doing that, and next thing you know, and this is funny, it's a funny story, because I reached out to Candace on Facebook, and I was just like, hey, congratulations, because I had seen that she had gotten married, right? And so I'm like, hey, congratulations. And I think she thought that I was talking about the deal that had transpired between Angela and herself. And then right, and then like I had seen that post, and I was like, oh shit, like that's dope. Like, oh, I didn't know that had happened. I was congratulating you about your marriage, and here you are, making big major moves with acquiring New Me. So, we mentioned earlier, Ohio doing big things, super on the map.
I will definitely do a big thing.
I'm glad to see that like all this is coming about and working out for her, and the future is bright. So before we go, let's name 3 things that you think every budding entrepreneur should do, like when embarking on starting a new venture.
Listen to Bars
Definitely.
podcast. Definitely on Apple, Spotify. Definitely, before embarking on something, I mean, I can just be very clear about the problem you're solving, how big that problem is, and how scalable your solution is. Like, just know what you're getting into on that right there. Like, how many customers can you get? How much money are you going to make? What's it going to cost to really do this? Do you have the bandwidth to do this? Can you really do this? So, I mean, that's part of like self-awareness, assessing your customer, customer discovery, assessing your business, really knowing what you're getting into before you get started. Interview some people, ask around. Don't just jump and do something because you felt the pain point. Even though I like to solve problems, I always go make sure I'm not the only one with that problem, because you definitely need customers. And then I would say something that people rarely mention, stack some money, get your credit together. That, because you're going to run out of money at some point. In most cases, not everybody, but mostly everybody that I know. And so just having access to get your own money. I mean, when I ran out of money and I didn't want to raise any more VC money because VC money is very expensive, I didn't want to dilute myself down anymore. I used my personal credit and I went and got money. I went and got money for my business with my credit. It wasn't, I didn't want to do it, but I had that option. And for me, it was better than going and selling a big part of my equity. So, and I was able to, pay that back. Because I invested in me and I believe in me. So, but if I wouldn't have had my credit together, I wouldn't have been able to do that, or even have credit cards to sustain my own self in times where, I may not be able to get a salary, just to make sure that I'm good. So, definitely a credit, and then to be able to leverage other loans like business loans, factoring, and things that they're definitely going to go off of your personal credit if you haven't been in business for, I believe, 3 years. So that's what I would say. Know what you're getting into, and just get your personal affairs in order. Stack money. Don't quit your job right away. Stay at your job. Like, work on your business and launch it while you still have a guaranteed check, because once you jump out there and there's no guaranteed check, you got to be ready for that. And I would say I always did save and stack, and then, things happened and ran out, but having credit and having some savings was important. And even when I started making a good salary, I always make it a practice to save a third of my income, so that when things happen, I have a cash reserve, and just live below my means until I got liquid millions. I'm a millionaire on paper, but I don't have liquid millions. So I will be living below my means, and that's key.
Dope. Those are some great suggestions, by the way. Appreciate that. And so, what's next for you?
Next is getting this daggone product out, raise this money, finish this Reg CF campaign. I'm trying to at least hit 300,000. We're at 140,000. We have 35 days left, so trying to get more money on this campaign to get the product out, launch that. And then just scale the business. Love to see it get acquired by the highest bidder in, 3 to 5 years. I have some acquisition targets. Keep on teaching and being an entrepreneur in residence, doing my podcast, get on the road, got a couple books, drop some, video content, and just, live life. Retire by 45 is the goal. Live life.
So not that busy.
What'd you say?
That's it. So not that busy.
No, not that busy. I'm doing all of it now so I can retire, so I'm working on my retirement plan. So far, so good. But the thing is, I have so much fun. I love what I'm doing. Yeah. I don't work to death. I'm not a workaholic. It's a great balance. I feel good, healthier than ever. It's just, I have a lot of great people that are around me and work with me and allow me to live my dream. And I'm definitely not stressed out. I mean, it's a lot of pressure, of course, but having a balance in sleep, going on vacation, these are all important things. And nice. So just got off of vacation yesterday.
Yeah, I've seen that.
Yeah, it's important. Vacation is a critical part of my life.
Where'd you go?
It's what happened. I went to Tulum, Mexico. It was amazing.
Very nice.
I highly recommend it. I loved it. But I sleep and I enjoy life. And that's important too, you guys. Don't work yourself to death. People say, I sleep when I die. Well, you're going to die faster. Yeah. That's what's going to happen.
Exactly.
You're going to die faster. So get some sleep tonight, please. That's about it.
So how can people, get in contact with you if they want to reach out, get some advice? Or how can people find your website? Give us all that, all the URLs, all of everything.
Okay, I'm gonna run it off, and I have my website coming soon. But until then, you can go to, first of all, get on one of my classes on newme.in. Listen to bars. You can go to bars on Apple, Spotify, or go to Instagram. The Bars Podcast, BARS, no extra fancy. It's just BARS Podcast. I'm Dawn Dickson, Dickson, on every platform. There might be a "the" in front of it on Twitter. But you can find me on LinkedIn. I put a lot of great content out on Medium. I'm really proud of my Medium blog. Check it out. I document everything on my Medium about this whole fundraising thing. So if you're thinking about and you want to learn about how to raise money in a non-traditional way, I have documented this for the past year, blogging actively. All the steps are there. And then, of course, if you don't want to read, the podcast is there. But that's where you can find me. I'm all over social media, and I'm everywhere, and I'm always traveling. So if you listen to bars and you want to get some one-on-one consulting, I do that, but I require everybody listen to bars first, because I need you to come to me with some real questions and not basic stuff like how can I get my company set up? I need you to come with me with some real questions. Let's solve some real problems. So that's that. But I do consulting on a very limited basis for people that are really ready.
Excellent. But Dawn, I want to thank you for coming on the podcast and dropping gems, dropping bars for our audience, for our listeners. We wish you much success in the future. And I'll definitely be hitting you up because BitCon 2019 is just around the corner. And this year, I want you to speak there. So
I would love to.
Yeah, that'll be dope. So, once again, Dawn Dickson, CEO of PopCom, entrepreneur, soon to be author, inventor, innovator. Thank you, Dawn. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
All right, take care.
Peace.
Blacks in Technology.
Blacks in Technology. Blacks in Technology. Blacks in Technology. Blacks in Technology. Blacks in Technology.